Stand your ground! Maybe we'll get our first level 20 gem. We got it! We got one! And as always, remember, if you can't say fuck you to your friends, who can you say fuck you to? Fuck you! I still don't like the grammatical hyphens and not having sentences between paragraphs, figuring out where I should split the paragraph, stuff like that. I mean, it's interesting. This is where we're just gonna have to go from like image to image. And I even love the curved beak because of the way that their beaks work. See, this is... Okay. This is really close because of how the avians actually evolved. And the way that they evolved is essentially the octopi built sky cities, and they started off with just like perches with vending machines, and then they like taught them that, you know, if they like use the vending machine, they get food from the vending machine, and it's like eventually all the birds just like sat and lazed and just didn't do anything except eat out of these vending machines, and their hands moved up and their bodies extended. Take him. Welcome to the stream. Yes, ask away. What is up? How's it going? Welcome, welcome. Would you consider yourself a ladies' man? There's opportunity here for massive joke. No, I'm a lady man. I'm a cross-dresser. No, I'm not really a ladies' man. Didn't expect that answer? Yeah, no, most people don't. Ain't nobody got time for you to put some makeup on. Wait, how old are you? As always, remember, if you can't say fuck you to your friends, who can you say fuck you to? Fuck you! Quasi, thank you for the follow. How's it going? There's only 2 genders, Trump said? Yeah, I'm a cross-dresser. I am a male. Just because a woman wearing pants don't mean she a man, and just because a man wears some makeup don't make him a woman. How can you not extrapolate that to say that any woman that wears man's clothes is in the same way? Still, in a lot of places in the world, women can't wear men's clothes. Why is it to say that the culture can't change, since over time, take an extrapolation that over time, we have allowed women to wear men's clothes? So why not, after an appropriate amount of time, allow men to wear women's clothes? So the fact that you can't even extrapolate the fact that there's 2 sets of clothing means maybe you should go back to, like, the drawing board. You're the one who brought it up. I'm just chilling here, just doing my own thing. You completely are free to have that opinion. I mean, I am a writer. I love fantasy. I love other cultures. I love other ideas, ways of being, thinking. So, thanks for watching, and as always, can't say fuck you to your friends, who can you say fuck you to? Fuck you! I have 5 short stories, and one of them is mine, and all the other ones were written by AI. A plot, a location, a time period, and a character. So the goal is to figure out if you can find which one was AI. I wrote the story, and then I got the AI to copy that story, plot, and everything, and come up with its own, and then I used that. So all of them were structured exactly the same. Are you a writer? Do you like writing stories? I am writing a book, a novel, as well as like a compilation of short stories, and it's like using the short stories as basically like a workout for my writing to develop the novel. I've been doing this for about 15 years, And so far, we actually finished Chapter 1's rough draft yesterday. And we are, on that note, in the process of putting it into Grok to fix all the grammatical errors. Final Fantasy-based book that the hope is to get, like, be good enough that Square Enix endorses it, basically. I rewrote the entire, like, title scene, and I used these as reference points for which characters had already titled. But I don't know what I saved it under, because it's obviously not this. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate you. You are amazing. If you can't say fuck you to your friends, who can you say fuck you to? Fuck you! I really wanted to get in on its thought process and how it thinks through coming up with its ideas. It leaves it something to work with, and then from there we can move into DeepSeek and maybe have DeepSeek enhance it. One of the, darker tie-ins. And what I like about this is because Final Fantasy has always been kind of, tame. A dark psychological side. And same with, 14. Love Baki, man. Baki is one of my top anime. 100%. Oh, Death Note's really good if you like psychological. Death Note's fucking amazing. Like, the tutorial stage when you're, level 90 and you're playing, either in the past or in the future or something of that aspect. And then, before you actually... And it's, characters that, don't really show up until later or are talked about until later. The reveal at the end about everything is just oh my god, it is so well done. I haven't watched Loki. I've heard Loki is good, but I have so many shows I need to watch. I just don't... Since I started streaming, I literally don't have any fucking time for anything. And we all know that China is a part of Taiwan. But as always... If you can't say fuck you to your friends, who can you say fuck you to? Fuck you! Playable. Just another little push. Blow those cats up. Yo, 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 guys. How's it going? We back. How are y'all? Yo, Talks, favorite Family Guy funny moment. The chicken fight. Any chicken fight scene.
Looks like someone's going to a big party tonight. You should pick up a chicken strip party pack for all your friends. Here's a coupon.
Whoa, look, pal, I don't take coupons from giant chickens. Not after last time. Oh, yeah, and that nice chicken outside gave me this coupon.
I'm sorry, this is expired.
You son of a...
First minute we get distracted, yeah. That's how we do it, book. I gotta take a toke anyway, so I figured this would be a good compilation to put in the background while I smoke up. Oh, it's beautiful. Welcome, welcome, everyone. What's yours, Levi? Hummer guy.
I'm gonna need these by
Friday. Ugh, is that gonna give us enough time to cross-check the...
Chicken gave me a bad coupon.
Yeah, this is literally just it's just a cutaway gag. For no reason whatsoever, just out of nowhere. Because why the fuck not? I think this is a little low. Alright, so today, stop writing boring scenes. Alright. Guys, do I write boring scenes? Are some of my scenes boring? How do I spice up my scenes just enough without adding actual spice? Thank you for your honest feedback. I try to make it interesting, so just let me know when you feel it's boring. Because again, I'm definitely getting a lot of snow blindness from my own writing and stuff like that, right?
Write a great scene, you can write a great book.
Boring, imbecile, ugh, oh my god, I know, true, right?
If I was more bored, I would be alive.
They are honestly the building blocks of stories. So in this video, we're going to talk about the 9 ingredients to make the perfect scene, the scene that readers will be talking about at the end of the book, the ones that they're going to tell their friend about when they say, you gotta read this book. The first principle is start late, end early. This is honestly the most important part of all the techniques I'm going to give you. If you get nothing else from the rest of this video, learn this technique. The vast majority of writers write so-so scenes because they start the scene way too early and there's sort of like this lead-up information, and then they dribble on at the end and they don't close it out when they should. I want you to think about a scene you haven't written yet, and then I want you to try to start it as late as you possibly can.
I mean, I try to do this because this is what I do in editing, like video editing, when I'm making like you know, a short film or something like that. You want to clip off as many frames from each of the outside of the scene and say, okay, well, it's like with, for instance, like I could have an entire poker game in Nepotism Unleashed, but I start the poker game at the moment that the women require more drinks, which leads into the door opening. So it's like these two pivotal events that take place at the beginning of the scene. If the scene started later, it could either have Daniel already in the room, which ruins the aspect that I'm going for with the sexuality of Melanie. So it's like the pivotal point to start that scene is right at the point where the women require drinks, and then shitting on all the men, getting the women the drinks, and then moving on to Daniel, and then accelerating the scene. Now, can the scene end earlier? The scene might be able to end earlier, but Daniel facilitates the next scene, so he has to, you know, initiate the dialogue that makes him progress. So he says, well, are we taking off now? Okay, yeah, we're taking off now. The question is, do I even need that part of the scene? I need it to emphasize Melanie. So it's like I look at all of the reasons why I start where I do and why I end where I do. But can it be in another scene? I don't think so, book, because there's 3 ways to start. We can either start with Tanner's scene, we can start with the poker scene, or we can start with Daniel, doing his inspection of the ship. or of the plane, right? What's your question, Callie? Feel free to shoot your question. You don't need to state that you're gonna ask a question. You can just ask the question, Callie. And if I missed the message because I'm retarded, just type it again or just tell me to look up. Just tell me I missed one of your messages because I'm retarded. So book, let's do an experiment here. What do you guys think is the most powerful start to nepotism? I would never ask a question without asking prior permission. Well, you guys have permission to ask whatever the fuck you want and say whatever the fuck you want. I don't give a shit. Go ahead. Do what you want, man. It's a free fucking country. I just feel like the asking the question, it like puts me on edge, because then I'm like waiting for the question, and then usually the question comes exactly when I'm not paying attention, because it's like, okay, I can wait like 10 seconds, right, and then I tangent, and the next thing I know it's off of the screen because I was never paying attention. So I prefer just to get the question. If you were to play Minecraft, would you prefer to have a mod that lets you import export text files, or a mod that lets you have a library? It's like when a woman says, "Honey, I need to talk to you." Yeah, it's like, I don't need that preempted. I need you to just say what you want to say. I don't need... It's like, I think about that in writing, too. It's like, why do I need to preempt this? Just say it. Right? Unless it's like exceptions for that, in my book, are like, you're asking someone who either you know doesn't like to talk to you, doesn't like you, or is just not, like, usually not responsive to people, right? Or it's established early on that this person is, like, they require time to, like, warm up to a social interaction, so you have to be like, hey, can I talk to you for a sec, kind of thing? Or, you know, like, pulling someone aside if you're in a public place. But if you're standing in your own house, in your own kitchen, and your wife comes up to you and says, we need to talk... I'd be like, just say what you're gonna say, you know? So I can't ask a panda if I can ask a question. I mean, you can, book. It's whether it's actually necessary. And that's something you should always be asking yourself if you're in a writer's mindset. Is what I'm saying necessary? Right? But, Callie, why couldn't you have both mods? Like, is there some sort of conflict that makes it so you can't have both mods? I mean, and if you remove the library one... I can't, they're in different versions. Damn. I'm like, in the one with text files, does that, like, can you still have, like, that's a hard question, because it's like, well, do you want to be able to transfer it, or do you want to be able to store it? I'd say store it, and then you could, like, speech to text it, but then that'd just be so much work. But then it'd be, like, so much work trying to store it without the library option. You can still store it just on these little lecterns. Yeah, but you can't have, like, a book or anything like that. And you have to have, like, 1,000 of them fucking lined up. Yeah, I'd probably go with the export-import. You can have a book, but not stored in, like, bookshelves. But you can put them in, like, a chest. So you could have, like, 40 books in a chest. Or however many, like, maximum a chest is. Yeah, I'd probably go with that one. Can't store writable books on shelves. It's Minecraft. Like, you put... I don't know, I still have to check. Yeah, I don't know. You watch the video, I'm very curious.
canon to
All
that
right.
scene.
All right,
No,
here we
not
go.
that point. Think even further. Like, what's the very closest you can start that scene to the action? This is because you don't want a preamble to your scene, like, oh, let me
Chiseled
warm up
bookshelves,
the
I mean.
reader by like telling them background information. No, you want to dive straight into the action. Now let's think about the end of your scene. A lot of writers will have the high point of the scene, the climax of the scene, and then they'll like talk a little bit more and have a little bit of dialogue and some extra stuff. No, you
Well, it depends on what the scene is going for, Book, and that's like it's not saying no exposition, it's saying is your exposition, like for instance, a great example of doing this bad is Nepotism, because like it's kind of set up through the entirety of it that there's some sort of like World Health Organization thing. They're going to Dubai to do some World Health Organization thing, right? But when we get to the end of the story, this whole like section about enforcing worldwide mandatory all in one shot, like you could literally get rid of that, literally get rid of this. It's just, you know, random exposition that I just kind of stuck in there. Well, that's not even it either, Book. It's, is it needed? Like, for instance, if the small talk between your characters points out a question that needs to be answered by, or like presented to the reader about the world. Like, for instance, Husai asking Zaid if he's ready for his exam, his adventurer's exam. It something as simple as that sentence sets up in the mind of the people, oh, there's an exam that adventurers have to take. Right? Or you could say, hey Zaid, there's the adventurer's exam that you have to take in order to leave the tree. Have you studied enough for that exam to allow you to be able to leave the tree yet? You can easily work that down to Husai saying, have you finished your exam? Zaid saying, I am so ready to leave the tree. And that instantly gets you all of that exposition in just 2 lines. People know that there's an exam, and you know you have to get it in order to leave the tree. And that's just a nice little, easy, simple example of how you can dilute your exposition down to a simple saying that makes people think about it. Because you don't need to know what's on the exam, what the exam's about. All you need to know is that there is one, right? So you present it through the character's actions or conversations. So that kind of small talk would be extremely important to keep, but you'd want it to keep as simple a conversation and maybe just an offshoot in the middle of a conversation that brings it up. Like maybe a leading sentence that brings it up, like, how are your studies going? Oh, I have the test tomorrow. So something like that. Like it just kind of, it slowly leads into it, but it doesn't spend like 2 or 3 paragraphs explaining what it's about. It just puts an idea in the reader's head. Oh, there's an exam. Oh, he hasn't done it yet. Right? It's like those are that's the subtext that you want out of your scene. Especially when it comes to dialogue and especially when it comes to small talk.
You want to get out early. You want to end that scene early, which means right when that climax happens. Maybe it's
which is like, again, in Nepotism, right? The climax of the scene is Tanner walking in and Daniel seeing him. And it's like instantly the radio message is the transition between the scenes. Okay, I'm tired of messing with Minecraft. Let's watch it talks. Sounds good, Callie. That's what it's all about, right?
conflict.
I think I can have chiseled bookshelves. So you're good to go,
Maybe
Callie.
it's a line of
perfect.
dialogue.
Houston, we have a problem.
Maybe it's an active.
Yeah, see, exactly. You don't have to say, oh my god, there's all of this stuff. It's just like, we have a problem. Okay, well, what's the problem? And then you work into what the problem is, right? It's a leading cause. And it's best facilitated through character action or character dialogue.
violence. Maybe it's a revealed secret.
Answer me, why do people think that I'm you?
Whatever that high point is,
that line goes so fucking hard once you realize, if you've never watched it, it's just like the I see dead people in Sixth Sense. It's like those lines that just go so hard because they're a complete reveal of the moment, right? And like in my book, shh, go to sleep. That I want to be like the pivotal, like super powerful moment, right? Because you just instantly know when you say that the events that happen. It's like flash of Torg, flash of Zayn, flash of the Monarch, epicness. Like that's just what goes through my head when I see that sentence, and it's like such an epic moment of reveal through such a simple thing.
stop right there. Stop the scene, put a hashtag in the chapter, and move on to the next scene. When you don't explain, when you don't show the aftermath or the character reaction, the reader is on the edge of their seat. It feels like a cliffhanger, and so they're more likely to want to read the next scene. Second step in genius level scene writing.
Use an engine. I think in this case I would call it a formula. I always have some sort of formula that I'm using in order to get the result that I want. I look at what is my goal, what am I trying to do, and what's the most efficient and best mathematical like structure of something to get me to that point.
Is to use an engine. So every book has a plot engine which propels the reader through the narrative. Sometimes love is an engine. The reader wants to see who
it's the plot engine for that in my book is the fact that Husai is human. You're like, okay, well, Husai is human. Why is Husai human? Why is no one else human? Why is there no human species? Why do people see Husai as an octopi even though he sees himself as a human? It's like, it's asking you fundamental questions that will not be answered until the end of the book. But they're always looming on the edge, and it's always the main character trying to find it. Mine is the shards, I think. I could definitely see that book. And like for like Callie, it's definitely the stars. And for Sean, I would say it's like the land itself. Right? It's just these really powerful discoveries that are meant to be made by the character through exploration of the world, interaction of the world itself, right? And you always put an inkling of it into the reader's mind and then lead them with, ooh, a piece of candy, 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 ooh, a piece of candy. And that's how you should be thinking about the way that you're trying to progress the story. So always think about it from the reader's perspective.
Who's gonna get the girl? Who's gonna get the guy? Who's gonna fall in love? Sometimes it's a mystery or a murder investigation, or sometimes it's interplanetary. You want to see whether this civilization will be destroyed or saved. Most writers know that their entire novel needs a plot engine, but they don't think about the plot engine of their scenes. Guess what? Every scene needs a plot engine too. Let me give you some examples of plot engines for scenes from the book The Good Lord Bird by James McBride. First, a hidden identity. Here we have a famous abolitionist, John Brown, and he's getting a haircut. That's not a super exciting scene, but what makes the scene interesting is people keep asking him, who are you? Who are you? And he refuses to tell them. That's because the person asking him is a slave trader and he specializes in freeing slaves. But that withholding of information and his hidden identity, it creates this wonderful conflict for the scene. 2, a threat of violence. In another scene in The Good Lord Bird, there are two characters talking with each other and one pulls out a gun and trains it on the other one during the whole conversation. That threat of violence keeps the reader on the edge of their seat. It's not just two characters chatting with each other. The presence of the gun lets us know at any moment in this conversation, one of the people could be shot. Here's a third plot engine from a scene. Have a character lie. In another scene, we see John Brown still talking to slave traders and he's lying through his teeth. I mean, he's making up false names for himself. He's saying, oh, I'm waiting for the steamboat, even though the steamboat isn't supposed to arrive for another 2 weeks. And that lying powers the scene because it makes you wonder, when is he gonna get caught? When is he gonna get exposed? Listen, overall, when you write a scene, you need a nameable strategy for what makes this scene interesting. What is the engine powering your scene? How are you gonna keep readers reading? How are you gonna keep readers enjoying the story? 3, make your scene scenes multitask. No scene should be accomplishing just a single thing. That's a boring scene. Your scenes need to be furthering the plot and developing that character and furthering that theme. So take a scene that you've written and start a list and write down everything that you think this scene is accomplishing to get us closer toward the end of the book. If that list isn't very long, that's a really good sign that you need to add a lot more to that scene to make sure that it's pulling its weight. Now the second...
So like for instance, if you know for Nepotism Unleashed that the main conversation that is being had is poking fun at the worst debacles of each of the presidents over like the last 25 years. Or if the list is really short, that's a sign you should cut the scene and do the things in another scene. That's true, Levi. So it's like the scene sets up, okay, well these are really important people that are really good friends. They know each other very well and they banter with each other. They're not thinking about the stakes of the game. They don't care about the actual poker game, so they don't give a shit about the money. It's just the having fun of playing it, right? The wives and Melanie's sexuality and how that plays on Reginald's character, right? It's like there are so many layers to the reasons why this scene is happening. It's also to initiate the takeoff of the plane, right? And then to state, well, this is inside of the plane, right? We're going to this place. This is the reason why this is so important. Whereas Daniel's scene is very, very weak. His scene is just to facilitate Tanner's scene. So that could use a lot of work. But I think the poker scene itself and Tanner's scene have a lot of depth. It's just I used Daniel as a means of transport to merge those two scenes together. And I don't think it went very well. But that's just, that's just how it goes sometimes.
Second exercise which you should do, and it's going to be very valuable, so do not skip it, is to pick a scene out of your favorite movie or book. Now write down everything that scene is accomplishing in terms of setting mood, in terms of theme, in terms of action, in terms of making the reader feel something, in terms of character development, in terms of plot. Really spend some time on it, and I think you're going to see that scene is doing so much work. And if you took that scene out of that story, the entire narrative would collapse. And
see, that's how I think about it with Quentin Tarantino, right? Is like, if I can build a story and I can take a single scene out of that story, and just by not showing that scene but having its effects ripple through the story and then showing that scene at the end as the reveal, and then doing that with almost every single scene and seeing which one has the most power. Like, my problem in writing the short stories is I'm only ever really working on one specific thing. So it's like, it may have really powerful foreshadowing, it may have really powerful metaphors, it may have really powerful scene transitions, it may have really powerful depth in one scene, but it's not well-rounded by any means, because that's not how I'm writing it, if that makes sense. So I'd say that's probably one of my biggest weaknesses to writing. Okay, weird. I had the stream up for like 2 hours and no sound came through to let me know you were live. Popped in just now and had to refresh. Sean, I go live at the same time every day. Just set an alarm. I was wondering where you were, if you were lurking or not, Sean. Ballantines or Mount Gay for tonight? Mount Gay. Definitely Mount Gay. An octopi. Nice. What am I? I'm a goblin. Hell yeah.
One thing that you can do when you find that you have a lazy scene, a scene that's not doing enough work, is that you can cannibalize other scenes around it, right? You can take from the scene after and try to do what it's doing in this scene and the scene before it and combine it, and suddenly now you just have one really powerful scene instead of 3 scenes.
Yeah, see, that would be very interesting if, let's say, we turned it around for, again, because we're mainly going to be talking about Nepotism Unleashed because it's the most recent story I wrote, right? It's just the most relevant to the case here. Turning it all into one scene. It's like, is that possible? Twitch PFP was Bug Lady for a while, so that checks. Nice.
Each doing one thing. Fourth thing you should do with your scenes is to play with time. Not every scene needs to be moving at the same pace throughout. A good scene often...
Yeah, see, and that's kind of like the poker scene is kind of like stretched out, right? It's a lot of dialogue, it's people bantering and talking. Then there's Daniel's scene that's very like swift. It just, okay, his scene's over. Transition. Tanner's scene. And then Tanner's scene is like super fast with a lot of things happening. He's taking coke, he's drinking shit, he's talking to Harold, he takes more coke, Cindy's taking coke, he's grabbing another bottle, and then he's running off. And all that happens like super fucking fast. And then Daniel catches him. And then it's like a little bit of a kerfuffle, and then everything slows down for the news story where it's like, oh, we have this information, and it's like, well, we're talking about a hijacking, but the reader knows that that's not actually what happened. And then it's just like a bunch of random exposition of the media talking, because it's, again, a critique on, like, how the media spins a story. And then everything fucking hits the fan and falls apart. Even though I could really get rid of that end piece there. But it's like, that was my, like, the whole point of that story was to transitions. How do I work with transitions? And I utterly failed the shit out of that. It was bad. But hey, that's okay. We learn from it.
Boring parts, and then it slows down for the most critical parts. Don't write cruise control scenes that just move at the pace of a movie, move at clock time all the way through. This is one of the great advantages you have as a writer rather than as a movie maker, right? Movies generally move at clock time. While in writing, you can speed up, you can slow down, you can play with time, you can skip time a lot more easily. A good exercise to try is to try to summarize a certain portion of a scene.
Yeah.
Say you write half of a scene, clock time, characters are speaking to one another.
Nice
You need some time to pass, right? So say, oh, they finished up dessert and cleaned the dishes, and then they went to the living room to talk more. You've just summarized 15, 20 minutes, and now you've gotten to the more exciting part, so the reader doesn't have to wade through the boring stuff.
56%.
5, supercharge your conflict. Conflict is at the heart of all storytelling. So if you don't have conflict in a scene, that should be this giant red flag waving you, danger, danger. Now, I don't mean the
like the conflict in the poker scene is between the men and Daniel, and the uncomfortable and uneasiness that they portray. And then the fact that Reginald's like, yeah, that's my fucking woman, bitch. He's all like standing on top like, I don't give 2 fucks, man. She does what she wants. Right? It kind of gives this empowering feel, or it's supposed to. It's the difference between what I'm envisioning and what is actually like being passed along to the reader, right? Oh shit, 6%. Good thing we're not writing today. Holy shit. It's going to write a passable mystery story. Damn. That means passable is good.
Conflict has to be enormous. Sometimes the conflict is very, very small. Sometimes it's very subtle. For instance, say a couple is exchanging dialogue that on its surface isn't barbed or angry, but one of them is seething over household chores that haven't been done, right? So the conflict is in the thoughts, but in the actual dialogue, there's not any conflict, and that's perfectly fine. If you find that your characters are being too nice to one another, that is a problem. And you have to find a way to get conflict in. Perhaps another character is making fun of them at the same time. And the most common common problem that I see as an editor when characters are being nice to each other is when they're just sharing information, right? The author knows, oh, I need to further this plot and these characters need to talk about X, Y, and Z to get us to the next scene. Giving information is kind of boring though. So you have to find a way to get that information across with conflict embedded in it. Maybe one character doesn't believe the other. Maybe one character disagrees with the other about that information. Now let's play devil's advocate for just a second. And let's say you say, I don't think that conflict is necessary for every scene. I mean, there are exceptions to the rule. You might be able to find a very rare scene in a movie or a book that doesn't have conflict. But most of the time, if you sort of peer under the hood and really analyze what's going on, there's some level of disagreement embedded between the two characters. And if you have a scene without conflict in your novel, you need to, one, come up with a reason why that scene is really necessary for the book, and two, find a justification for why that scene won't bore the reader to death. 6, make your character change. Most of the time that we talk about character arcs, it's over the course of the entire novel, right? And you want to see the character change by the very end. I would encourage you to think about character arcs on a micro level. How does a character subtly change within a single scene?
Oh, this is the best one. This one's like the scene between Husai and Hildebrandt. Hildebrandt thinks of him as some like bureaucratic leader who's trying to frickin' live his glory days again by coming out of the tree and parading around as an adventurer and telling everyone what to do and just being a general, like, stick up your ass kind of character. But when Husai sits down with her and talks to her and, like, really gets down to, like, yo, these are the main questions of the world. Why do you think this and stuff? And she gets to see a side of him that he's never shown. Because he's always trying to put this armor up around him to not be too friendly with people, to create this, because he's like the boss, right? So it's like, you don't want to be too friendly. You want to be friendly, but there's like a line where it's like, you know, maybe not necessarily like invite them over for beers kind of idea, right? There has to be some level of professionalism there. And Husai's always trying to stand up to that because he's trying to portray himself as a leader for other people to look up to. But this exchange between both of them completely changes both of their characters because Husai realizes that what he's doing isn't coming across the same way that he thinks it is. And the way that people are, like, they won't tell him the truth, right? Like, they won't say that he's a stuck up. They'll kind of, like, laugh at his jokes and stuff like that and make it seem like they're buddy-buddy, but in the back of their minds, they're not. But Husai doesn't see this. So this conversation changes Hildebrandt's view of him from a stuck-up asshole who's trying to just get in the way to someone who's actually trying to portray this almost fatherly figure. No, Muffin, well, it didn't earlier. Whoops. Okay, it does now. Well, I've been live for more than 40 minutes, so I checked. Well, actually, I mean, you went live just before me, but I'm getting this. So, I don't know. Yeah, error, try again. But it says that you're live. So, maybe try turning off the stream and turn the stream back on. Or check your connection for like whatever you're using for your video. Not quite sure. But yeah, and then Husai realizes that what he's doing, he has to change what he's doing because his perspective is not coming across as well as he thinks it is, and not in the direction that he thinks it is, but no one will tell him that. So it's like, this one scene dramatically changes both of these characters and both of these characters' views towards things, which is super, super important.
By the time that the scene ends, you should be able to analyze your character at the beginning of that scene, at the end of the scene, and detect some sort of small learning or changing or growth. For instance, they might make a decision that shows them maturing as a character or backsliding, right? That's also change. Even if a character is refusing to change, that fits inside the change umbrella because the reader is wanting them to change and yet they're refusing to change, and so it creates this wonderful tension and conflict in the story. And this is a great way to see whether the glue of your scene is holding together. Ask yourself, in what way does my character change or grow or learn in this particular scene? 7, make sure it's essential to plot progression. So if you look at the structure of a novel, it's a bunch of scenes lined up with each other until you reach the end and you feel satisfied for some reason. And if a reader doesn't feel that the scenes are linking to one another and building toward an endpoint, they're gonna stop reading. I once wrote an incredible first chapter of a novel that featured these geeky, hilarious, energetic American soccer players hitting on European girls in a club. It was amazing.
Yo, you writing something? Scrambled eggs, MF. Welcome, welcome. We are not today, but we are working on turning our last work, which was our 9/11 story, into a YouTube video. That is the plan today. And if not, then we will just be doing editing for Cryogen, because we still need to finish Cryogen. And we still need to write, like, a lot of scenes. Like, we need the lot lizard scene. We need the, what's the other scene we need? We need, like, him getting to know the truckers and, like, meeting the truckers and stuff like that. And, like, there's a couple of other scenes that we need. But yeah, most likely we're going to be... Because I want your guys' opinion on how to construct the video. Because currently, like, I don't know. I've been trying different things. But we haven't really... You know... Let's say... The state popped off. But, you know... I mean, we got some views, right? At least, like... This one went really hard. I guess... I don't know why. But, you know, some of them did pretty good. Get rid of the S in the last one. The S on what? Wait, what, Muffin? The S on what? Oh. There you go, Muffin. It looks like it's up and going. You're good now. Solid.
To structure the whole book around it. There was only one problem though. It didn't really link up to the next chapter. It didn't build the overall plot line. And when I sent...
Yeah, see, like, Brewer, these video prompts for AI, that's dope. Oh, you mean like the images? Like the thumbnails? Or like the channel intro? Because another thing we're doing is we're gonna go back. We're not gonna use Grok. Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna use Grok to create the AI prompts, and then we're going to use Conda in order to generate the image, and we're gonna add a bunch of different filters to it to see what it comes up with and what kind of style we want for this. So that's the plan.
Agents, that was pretty much their feedback. I'd promised one thing in the query later, but this particular chapter didn't progress the plot. So even though that was one of my...
Oh, I don't know, the overall story. Oh. Well, what I do is I write the story, and then I edit the story as best I can, and then I drop the story into AI. I get AI to, like, figure out what's, like, missing, and give me, like, a construct around it, and then I compare what the AI has and what I have, mix the two together to create a final product, and then I go through that again and say, okay, what are the weaknesses on this, and then I keep those in mind for the next time I write. And that's generally how I do a story. And then we just write a story between like 2 to like 8,000 words.
Favorite scenes I've ever written. I had to delete it because it didn't fit into the book as a whole.
Oh, the first scene, the first chapter, extremely important, shows the backstory of Husai, the possibility of Husai's future, what could have happened to him, and it brings you to, oh shit, well there's more shit going on that and it's like, even at the beginning of the scene, like, you're setting up going to the inauguration, and then he sees the comm sphere, and he's like, wait, what? What is this? Oh, shit. Okay, what's going on here? And then he learns everything. He's like, alright, this is fucked up. And then it's like, okay, well, I gotta put that aside and just go for the inauguration. And then in the inauguration, everything hits the fan with the Beastmen rallies and everything like that. And it's like, okay, then Husai dips out and goes into the... goes to speak to his ancestors to learn what to do next. And it's like... pretty much every single chapter leads directly into the next chapter within the outline and the overall planning of that chapter. So I think I have the structure down extremely well, at least for the first quarter of the book. The rest of it's kind of like up in arms because we don't know how it's going to go until we write it. So I didn't want to fully invest into the rest of the decisions. Like, we have like 18 different branches of what we can do. We just don't know what's going to be included and what's not.
Think of your scenes as a series of boxcars, right? Each linked up to one another. And if a boxcar doesn't pull the one before it and push the one in front of it, then you're not creating a chain that's going to be strong and linked, and the reader's not going to get through all of it. 8, prioritize actions and dialogue over thoughts and backstory. You know what a great exercise is to pick a scene that you've written and then divide it up into categories. Divide it up into action, description, dialogue, thoughts, and backstory. And then figure out the approximate ratio of each one. Is most of it dialogue? Is most of it thoughts? Is most of it backstory? A bad scene often contains far too high of a ratio of backstory and thoughts, and not enough of the present moment action of what's actually happening in the scene. Now, I'm not saying you don't need thoughts and backstory. Both are great devices, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying pay attention to the ratios of what you're doing in a particular scene. If the ratios are off, that should flip a little, danger signal in your brain. You should think, all right, maybe I need to rejigger this scene a little bit to make sure things
I like
are actually
that. Rejigger this scene. I'm stealing that. Rejigger this scene. Alright guys, we got a new saying, rejigger.
Rejigger.
True.
Happening right now. The 9th and final point is 3 essential questions for every scene. 1, what would happen if I cut this scene?
Essential questions about the scene. 1, what happen if I cut this scene? Okay, well, let's look at nepotism. If we cut the poker scene entirely, we could absolutely probably cut it. If we just started, like, for instance, if we just started, let's rethink this, right? If we just started with Daniel entering the room. So where is it? So we just start with this. Melanie, spotting her moment, glided over. A knock echoed on the metal hatch. The men at the table were too engrossed in their shenanigans. So it's like, they don't notice. We know that it's set up the scene. We could even change table to, like, the poker table, because we don't know that it's a poker table at the moment, right? Then you come over. Daniel, talks to the men at the table. And then he leaves. And then you just say that he's going on the deck, right? Or like he's doing his rounds. And you don't need anything about this. You just need his when he arrives at. So you could summarize the rest of it and just say, oh, he arrives at the presidential suite hearing sounds, he opens the door, boom, there's Tanner. and then have the communication. So you've connected Daniel, the plane, and the poker table all together. And then you have Tanner's scene. And then you could have Tanner just like running to the thing, and then you wouldn't even need the news network, right? So it's like there's actually a lot of ways to structure this story, and you wouldn't even need this scene. But this scene, to me, is important because of, if you know, you know, the conversation that they're having. Like, it's... the entire point of the story is a critique on political class and political advantage. And the way that media portrays events. So it's like, without this scene, I think you lose a lot of the emphasis. Because it's the extremely privileged presidents playing a poker game on Air Force One while they all badmouth each other about the worst, like, parts of their presidencies. And only one out of the 5 is criticized for his actual policies. The rest of them are criticized for scandals that happened while they were presidents. Like Bill Clinton and the secretary, Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, Donald Trump and Melania Trump, George Bush and why did you do it? It just, it encompasses, and then like Obama, where it's like, well, Obama really didn't do anything bad, he just had Obamacare. It's like, what else the fuck are you gonna make fun of Obama for other than Obamacare? So, this scene facilitates, like, the theme of the story, if that makes sense. So if I got rid of that theme, or that scene, I think it would weaken the theme of the story.
It's always a great question to ask yourself, because if you can cut it and the book doesn't suffer, you don't really need it in the book.
Yep.
Every scene should be absolutely core for helping the reader reach the end of the book. 2, ask yourself, what has changed by the end of my scene? Are we a little bit closer to finding out the mystery? Are we a little bit closer to 2 characters falling in love? Or a little bit further away from 2 characters falling in love?
We are closer to understanding, like, the presence of the people on this plane. Same with, like, the scene on with Daniel, like, talking to the 2 guards at the on-ramp, being like, just because you, like, don't let those legends, like, you know, whatever he says, mess with your head or whatever, you know, like, don't gawk at the legends, right? And it's, like, emphasizing that these are, like, super high-end people that are extremely important, so they should be, you know, taken care of, I guess you could say. But then you look at, like, the guards and being like, well, they were the ones who allowed Tanner onto the ship in the first place, so it's just like, are you really even, right? And then that kind of, I think, also brings Daniel into question as well, right? If he's the head of security and he allowed it to happen. So that scene facilitates a lot of change in the dynamic of, oh, like, you knew these people, like, seemed, like, powerful, but now it's like, oh, they're the presidents. Like, they're not just, like, some high-end corporate, something. No, they're the president and the former presidents of the United States. They're extremely important people. So that just elevates the stakes once Tanner comes into it, and you're like, well, shit, now we've got this rampaging, degenerate, you know, putting in danger the lives of the leaders of our nation.
And 3.
And so by changing the end of the scene is the dynamic between both of those things. And that's why using Daniel as a facilitator of it, because he moves from one position to another, and that allows you to see the contrast between the 2 scenes. Like this nice, lavish poker room, and then this destroyed, like, disastrous, trash-covered, presidential suite.
How does this scene move the story forward?
How does this scene move the story forward? And again, that's the thing, is the very first scene doesn't really seem to move the story. Like, it moves the story forward by it facilitates a conversation to allow the plane to take off. But we could just as easily already had the plane taken off. So it's like, what's the reason for the plane to be grounded? The reason for the plane to be grounded is for Daniel to go to the pilots and talk to the pilots. So we introduce the pilots. So the pilots are, you know, important to the final scene on the plane when Tanner's running away. And Daniel is, like, connecting the two scenes because he's moving from the poker table to the bedroom. But then you miss the dialogue. Some things need to be sacrificed, but like I said, and a chance to connect with the characters. Yes. So that's one of the other things, right? Is like, you can... So what I would say to that, Scrambled Eggs, is as long as all three of those questions are not negative answers, such as like, okay, well, what happens if I cut the scene? Well, nothing bad actually happens, but I like the scene, so I'm going to keep it. Okay, well, what changed by the end of the scene? Well, nothing changed by the end of the scene. I just really like the scene, so I want to keep the scene. How does this scene move the story forward? Well, it doesn't move the story forward. I just like the scene. It's like, okay, at that point, you need to get over yourself and delete the scene. But if you're like, what do I do if I delete the scene? Well, it kind of messes a little bit with the theme, but we could work with that. What's changed by the end of the scene? Not much has changed by the end of the scene. We're just using it as a transitional scene. And how does it move the story forward? It shows that the two places are connected. It's like, those aren't very strong, right? So it's like, looking back on it, we could definitely use these techniques to build a much stronger moment. And like I said, like that, we failed with Nepotism because the entire point of the story was transitions, and we utterly failed at that to the point that we got AI to write us the transitions. To figure out what we should do for the transitions. Because we were just so lost at what to do. And it came back with, where's our doubled indents? Should be up here. Yeah, it's here. No, that's not it. Why the hell can't I find it? Her moment glided over. It's when Daniel comes into the room. Okay, Daniel's in the room. I guess there was no transition. So this... Okay, so this scene transitioned well enough that it didn't need an AI overwrite. This is the transition itself. But I had already written this one. Whereas, let's see, what's this one? Yeah, he closed the door, pulling a cigar from his vest pocket. Okay, we already wrote that one as well. This one, where was the next one that we fucked up with? Apparently I didn't. I don't know. I must have restructured it and lost everything. But we can go... This is one really nice thing that we can do.
Scrambled Eggs is now
oh shit, thanks for the follow, Scrambled Eggs!
I hope you are enjoying the stream. Less than 3 plus.
Hi, sweetie. Hatred was just telling me you used to Arch Commander
This
Consummate and thinks he'd be a perfect match for us.
I'm not that interested. Are you smoking?
Who?
You.
Why?
What, why? Are you smoking?
Maybe.
What?
Okay,
when did
so
you
it's
start
the one
smoking?
before this one.
9-ish?
So you have
Price
been
tags.
lying. It all makes sense. The filled ashtrays, the burning pine-scented hairspray.
Yes, I'll say it. Her 3-pack-a-day voice?
Yeah, transition scenes. So, like, as the plane hurtles towards Dubai, the situation on board spirals out of control. The news reports grow increasingly frantic. Outside the plane, the world watches in growing alarm. News anchors scramble to make sense of the uniforming crisis. Yeah, man, all the notifications are Venture Brothers. Fucking love Venture Brothers, bro. So glad that you noticed it was Venture Brothers. Hell yeah, buddy. That's what it's all about. Like, the intercom on the chair arm buzzes to life with the sound of Daniel's voice. So it's like, just like little tiny sentences that bring, like, summarize the transition, right? As Daniel deals with the chaos in the presidential suite, the poker game below continues, oblivious to the storm brewing above. So it's like just these little tiny things that facilitate a transition, which were really important to not feeling jarred when you jumped to the next part, right? Because without a visual indicator, like, that's usually what I'm trying to use, is a visual indicator. So like what I'm thinking now is when we're building these images, we need to build them with an indicator in mind for specifically characters talking, character movement, character location, and kind of use that to facilitate the movement of the images as opposed to how I've been doing it before. So it's a little bit more evolved of what we're gonna do.
What does it accomplish in terms of character development, in terms of plot? If you can answer all three of those questions satisfactorily, then you have written a scene that has earned a right to stay in your book.
True.
So last year I edited
Okay. So,
51.
I did all of the editing for the audio for it, so I wouldn't have to, I wouldn't have to worry about doing that. So we'll just go through, delete all of the visuals. Actually, no, let's delete the visuals afterwards, because then I can read what's on screen, and I don't have to necessarily listen to it, so I know exactly, like, where we are in terms of stuff. But this turned out to be a 15-minute story, which is a pretty good length. So, I'm happy with that. But what we need is we need Grok. We need the story. And we need Conda. I don't know why I put a space there. Fuck, I'm retarded. I don't know why I put a space there. Okay, boot that shit up. Go to Grok. I'm like, which PC is that? I'm like, that's my Starforge. I'm pissed. But I don't think it is. I think it's my other one. I think it's a piece of shit one. It's the fan. Oh, dude, you're a badass. I know none of this. Why, thank you, Scrambled Eggs. I mean, I'm always trying to do something different and inform people with certain things, so I am, you know, I'm glad you are finding it of interest. But yeah, because we go, like, what is the most optimum way to do something? Horizontal and vertical integration. So we have horizontal integration with our, like, ability to write. So we use that as, like, a foundation, right? So we've got our ability to write, and we have, like, writing, editing, stories, ideas, creativity on our, like, horizontal level, right? And then for our vertical level, we have, like, video editing, AI prompt, music selection, what's another one? Like community insight. But it's like you want to build as much of a structure as you can and be able to do everything yourself. I think that's the best way to do it. And I facilitate and use AI as much as I can. Because if you're not using the tools that are given to you, you're not going to be as successful as you could be. Always use every tool available to you to get the best outcome. That's where is suck. Okay, I'm not quite sure what you mean by that's where is suck. Do you say AI sucks? Are you a anti-AI person? Because I know, like, I have a specific thing where I'm like, people call it artificial intelligence. It's not artificial intelligence, guys. It's automated instructions. That's where I suck. Oh, I see what you mean, scrambled eggs. That's where you suck. Well, that's why if you go back and you watch everything that I was doing over the last 6 months, I sucked 6 months ago. You want to know why I'm better now? Is because I put in the effort. No, that's where I'm crappy at. Well, I'm crappy at a lot of things too, but it's like, I think of it as like leveling up in a video game. Try and figure out what level you think your skills are. Evaluate your skills across the board with those levels and say, okay, well, what am I shitty at? What am I really, really shitty at? And then work on that. Now, I always try to find what is my biggest weakness, and then I turn my biggest weakness into my biggest strength. And then I go again and I say, okay, well, now that's my biggest strength, what's my new biggest weakness? And then I take my new biggest weakness and I make it my new strength. And I think this is the best way to, like, grow, because you're always looking outside of the box at, like, new things you're not good at, things you're not comfortable with. You're always leaving your comfort zone, and you're always applying new ideas to new concepts to gain new concepts for new ideas to escalate, right? And it's like compacting on top of itself until you get a point of scaling where you started as a snail, you turned into a turtle, and now you're a fucking jaguar. Or a fucking, what's the fastest animal? It's a type of, like, antelope or whatever, right? I can never remember what the fuck it's called. But it's like an Australian antelope or something like that. Fastest creature. No, there's something that's faster than a cheetah. Cheetah's fastest, like, 100-yard sprint. This is like 1 mile dash, you know? Like, cheetahs can run faster for a short period of time, but these can run ibex. It's an ibex. I'm pretty sure it's an ibex. The absolute fastest animal in the world is the peregrine falcon with a diving speed of up to 320 kilometers an hour. Pistol shrimp. Oh, could you say scaling, moving upon... Wait, scrambled eggs. Let's look at scaling moved based upon body size. What if we did that? So, how fast would these animals move if they were all the same size? Did you know if an ant was the size of a cheetah, it would be able to run at 85 miles an hour? That's fucking scary. Could you imagine, like, a swarm of, like, 1,000 6-foot-tall ants running at, like, 90 miles an hour? It's literally, like running faster than you are going down the highway? Like, that's a fucking scary image. Okay, so, first thing is we take the scene. Thanos ants? Yeah, like fucking crazy shit. So, we take the first scene. is the poker scene. Okay. Somewhere around here. There. This is where it's supposed to split. His inner thoughts fuming. This is where he moves on. That's like the transitional move. So, this is how I start. I got like, I'm making a YouTube video for my short story. Here is the intro scene. Can you create 5 separate AI image prompts for this scene? No, I don't want actual images. Because Grok's ones are like, yeah, really, really kind of fucked up. Written prompts, please. Here we go. And then we can bring, where is it? Shit, where did I put it? Where's Conda? Here. Okay, we'll bring that in so we can have both of them side by side like that. Alright, so styles. What kind of style do we want? Comic book? Japanese vintage? Scrap art? That would be interesting. Stencil. Yep, stable diffusion. Ran on AMD through Conda. I mean, I just want to go with anime style. I think this would be fucking hilarious. Animation style with claymation. Bro, I was about to pay for AI. I totally learned. Yeah, you don't need to pay for AI. You can get all the things that you need from AI for free. You just need to know where to look and what to do. I even have an AMD machine and not an NVIDIA machine, and I still figured out how to get Conda to work. I just can't get Comfy to work because for some reason certain prompts in my Laurel don't work, which is super annoying. Okay, so here's the first prompt. We're gonna do a 0.8 and a 12. That's usually what I go for with 30 steps. Gonna grab something to eat. Sounds good, book. Okay. What do we want? I only use Comfy for HUA video right now. I've been I just think I've stable Reforge is completely fine in terms of pictures. Yeah, it's like doing videos is a little different. I know it is. I've been working on my own novel for like 8 years. Hell yeah, scrambled eggs. I got 18 years worth of lore in my head, and I got 1 chapter on page. So, it is what it is. Maybe like this. Alright, looks like we're good to go. Let's see what it gives us. If local models didn't take such processing power, I'd never use ChatGPT again. Yeah, pretty much, right? Like, look at this. No, that's not what I want. Am I dead? Did I kill it? Guys, did we kill it? Oh shit, guys. This isn't good. Okay, I'm gonna yeah, I think the PC crashed. Like I literally have black screen. I think the PC crashed. Like I literally have black screens on my end. I'm looking on my other PC to see if the stream's still up, and it looks like OBS crashed. So, yeah, because I can hear the music. I just can't see anything. I think I blew up the PC, guys. Fuck. Because I saw it jump from 0 instantly to 85 processing as soon as I hit generate. I was like, oh shit. Okay, well, I'm just gonna hard reset. I'll be right back, guys. Sorry. This shit is so fucking annoying. I didn't think that would happen. Maybe it's like having the stream up and doing that.